Do your Peter Parker.
Peter Parker's
I
just
can,
like,
I can do my Peter Parker.
hey Jay, we gotta go.
Maybe we should.
Everyone goes on about how good at improvising they are. I just want to Spider-Man, December
We're both
15th.
like, do your Peter Parker.
So let's get ready to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, first, I just want to do a spoiler-free review. This isn't going to have anything spoilery added at all. It's just going to be a quick little summary of my opinions of the movie, how I felt, how my kids felt, which is really important. And then we'll go into the good, bad, and ugly that me, Dougie, usually do. Okay, so Spider-Man No Way Home, I guess I should say initially, I went into this movie expecting really low expectations. I normally do that anyway with MCU movies, but with this movie, it was just a little bit lower just because of the trailer that I had already saw and the plot point that they had already drove home. I found myself enjoying this movie majority of the time. This actually was a really good movie. I definitely think it doesn't need to be seen in theaters unless you care about spoilers, though. If you care about spoilers, you need to go see this movie tomorrow. It's like, get up. Matter of fact, why are you still here? Just go right now. You know, if you don't care about spoilers and you're like, I feel like this movie, you know, has too many things or too many dimensions or whatever else, and I can just wait, you can. This is not a movie to rush out to theaters to, in my opinion. It didn't feel that grandiose. It didn't feel like that loud or banging. Like it was just, it was a good movie. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like personally, it's not something you need to see in theaters unless you care about spoilers. Because if you care about spoilers, why? You need to go see this shit now. I understand you got work, but you got to get off. You got to call off, bro. Just hit them up. Let them know. Tell them that I said that it's cool for you to get off and you can get out of here, okay? Personally, you know, I'm not a fan of this Spider-Man and what he brings to the table. So that was probably my biggest like thing holding me back. You know, he's supposed to be set if he's a senior about to go to college, he's 17 or 18 years old, right? So he just doesn't act like a 17 or 18-year-old. My kid's 15. I got a 15-year-old up there, and he's more mature than the 17, 18-year-old. And I get, you know, people have different maturity levels and shit, but just Spider-Man just really seems like he's like 14 a lot of the times. Like he just seems like a 13, 14-year-old, like my younger son is, you know? So in that environment, you know, I didn't really enjoy it. But on the other aspect, with all the villains that they brought to the table, I actually really enjoyed that aspect, probably the most. To see, you know, and this was in the trailer, so this really isn't that much of a spoiler, but to see, you know, Doc Ock and Green Goblin and even Jamie Foxx. Honestly, Jamie Foxx was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie too, just for the simple fact that they like redeemed him kind of, you know, and he got to change a little bit and become something different. And I fucking really enjoyed that shit. It was almost like, this movie is almost like if you were to say, okay, if you've been watching superhero movies for the last, I don't know, when was Green Goblin introduced and Doc Ock, 2000 or whatever, right? 2001. If you've been watching comic book movies for the last 20 years, we love you. You know, that's kind of what this movie was. It's really just kind of a fucking love fest of fucking comics and just comic book movies in general, you know? So it has a lot of really fun moments and elements to it that I think are worth seeing. Like I said, I don't think you need to see this in theaters though. I would, if I would have watched this at home, I think I still would have gave it the same rating I would have gave it if I saw it in the theater. You know, and we had, you know, some kids and stuff with us. I mean, my kids are all pretty much, you know, teenagers, so everybody in my family knows how to, you know, keep it quiet. But like, you know, they had some kids and stuff in the theater, but it didn't really ruin my experience at all. So, you know, I still say overall, if I was to rate it, I'd still probably give it about a good 8 out of 10. First act, I'm not really down for it. Second and third act definitely made up for it, and I enjoyed it pretty much through to the end. In fact, I got a lot to talk about the third act in general, because Oh boy. Other fucking standout characters. MJ in this universe is a great actor. She did a great job. In fact, I liked her more in this than I did in Dune. In Dune, she was kind of whack and kind of stale. But in this movie, she has a lot of emotion and passion that I think like a young woman should have. And she carries herself like a teenager. Tom Holland's Peter does not carry himself like a teenager to me. He carries himself more like a fucking child. Like trapped in a teenager's body. It's or like a young or like a little dog. You know how little dogs just like everything. When I open the door for my dog Brownie, she's tiny. She's like this little like little Jack Terrier, bro. And like when I open the door for Brownie, bro, she is the most excited. And she does this little like training course. So like we got her food and water like by the door where I let her out to go to the bathroom and shit. And she'll literally like sprint from her fucking kennel all the way out the dining room over the fucking, and she'll go leap over it and like skate out of here, bro. Every time, like, dog, this dog is so excited to just be here. Like that's how this Spider-Man feels to me. Is he just feels like almost too excited for every single moment. So it makes like intense moments not really resonate as hard because he hasn't slowed down at all. It's like you go from and then he's like fucking like on the ground crying, and I'm just like, bro, like he doesn't really have like this stop moment for him, you know? It's just super excited all the time. And I wish he would just like they tried, hopefully with this movie or with the next movie that they do, if they do more, like he slows down a bit, because this movie does give him, I'm not gonna bash it completely, because this movie does give him the grounds to slow down and shows him that like every decision you make isn't gonna be the right decision. This movie does have weight to it in itself. Finally, I'm gonna put in clapping sounds or something, because there's finally some goddamn weight that happens to Spider-Man. Because you think about it, his life's been way too easy, and he didn't really resemble Peter. Peter's supposed to deal with grief early in his life and learn that fast, rash, quick thinking shit can get people killed. That's how the other Spider-Mans lost their fucking uncle. You know what I'm saying? So it's like weird that this one didn't even have an uncle, and like, you know what I mean? His only loss is Tony Stark. And that's weird, that's a weird thing, So it's like this movie changes a lot of that stuff. So again, we're still in the spoiler-free area, but you're going to end up finding out more about like how it goes down. If I had to say one more positive thing, it would probably be that the set pieces were pretty fucking nice in general. Like I like majority of the aesthetic. And it's probably one of the only nighttime movies I didn't mind. In this movie, it kind of felt proper. It felt like they're understanding these darker tones and are able to kind of illuminate things in other ways. So that I fucking respected too and really enjoyed, because I could see the fucking movie and the CG didn't look terrible or anything like that. So that was another thing I thought was really fucking good. If I had to go for one more negative in this little spoiler-free review, it'd probably be that the main plot point thread of this movie is fucking a Star Trek B-side episode. It's literally a Star Trek episode, but like, cause look, okay, let's just say this is like diving into spoiler shit, so I can't really talk about this part. But my biggest gripe is that it's like a Star Trek B side episode where, the plot is real thin, but it's like they drop a lot of heavy character moments in and around the entire movie or episode for Star Trek. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not necessarily the strongest plot line, and you can literally like shoot a million holes in it, but it in itself serves a greater purpose to propel the character to their next level of whatever comes, you know, to the great beyond, if you will, to the next episode, the next movie, you know. And that's definitely what this movie does. Spider-Man definitely is getting propelled into his next thing, you know what I'm saying? He literally is, by the end of this, he is Spider-Man for sure. How much of that will hold over in the next movie is my only issue that we'll see, you know, is like how much weight of that will matter with all the comedy and everything else. And then my overall opinion of it is, you know, it's a pretty good movie, man. I had a good time. I'll tell you what, though, we had a packed theater, packed, bro. It was packed. And I tell you one thing, dude, the laughs were not hidden. The jokes weren't hidden, but the touching moments, you could feel it in the room. You know what I'm saying? Those little tight character study moments where you're getting character shit, that was what was hitting. So I'm just gonna say this. I know Marvel's not gonna watch my shit, but I'm gonna tell you, please stop with the fucking jokes in between serious moments. You didn't really do it this movie. And I thank you for that. But the jokes, you just turn them down a notch. The kids don't like them no more. I'm telling you, it was packed in this motherfucker. I'm surprised I don't got the Rona. I probably do. It was packed. Like Tom Holland, before like the craziness began, tone that shit down. That shit you need to take that shit down a notch, bro. For real. Like it's just too much. You know, and I'm sure people fucking love it, but I promise you on second and third watches, it's almost gonna be like when you used to have Titanic on VHS and there'd be 2 tapes of VHS. You wouldn't even watch the first tape. You just go straight to the second tape because that's right after they get through fucking. They come outside, icebergs already fucking hit. You're just like, yeah, baby, let's see this shit go down. That's exactly what's gonna end up happening with No Way Home. At least with me, is like I don't think I'll ever end up watching the first act, probably more than twice. I really, really didn't like it. So that would be my biggest gripe, is like the comedy and shit is just like not really hitting for me anymore. You know, it's kind of getting old. And it doesn't, you know, it's like they'll have these touching moments, you know, like, you know, Peter will be talking to somebody and then somebody will just cut in after these 2 people have been talking for like 2 minutes, you know, and it's like, okay, if they're not talking for 2 minutes and you want to break to something else, just break to something else. You don't have to just like insert joke to let them know we're breaking. That's literally how Marvel movies feels. Like, okay, every time we're going to do a break, we're going to fucking jab a joke in there. But it didn't feel that powerful in this movie, for sure. Like, this movie is probably like the least jokey of the Spider-Man movies, for sure. Like I said, overall, 8 out of 10. Personally, I feel like I would recommend this movie to anybody who's been in the MCU shit for long, but I would also recommend it to anybody who's just been watching comic book movies for a long time. It's definitely worth that aspect alone, entry gate. Now, is it worth you paying fucking $17 or how much ever it is for you to get in the movie if you're not seeing the matinee? Go see matinee. If you're watching matinee, you watch it at 10 in the morning or some shit, bro. $8, whatever. You know what I'm saying? To spend $17 on that smacker, I personally would say I would wait for it, dude. It's not like an Infinity War or an Endgame where like it is a once in a lifetime kind of movie in a sense, but it's not, they didn't turn it into that though. They could have, and we'll talk about that in the spoiler situation. It's just a movie that kind of just went through. So you personally, I would say you don't need to see it in theaters. There's no need to rush out. If you've been like, you know, I don't really go out because of the Rona and shit, and I really want to see this movie, like, should I not? If you don't want to get spoiled, again, you shouldn't have made it to here if I already told you that back there. You see what I'm saying? You should already have been seeing the movie and then came back and watched. Like, that's literally, if you don't want to get spoiled, that's literally how it should be. But if you don't care about spoilers, which there are people like that, then just fucking wait, bro. Yeah, that's going to be the end of the spoiler free fucking part. We're going to dive into the spoiler part right now. So make sure you guys dip the fuck out if you don't want to be spoiled on some motherfucking Spider-Man. No Way Home.